All right. Sorry, Walter. I haven't cut myself off this time. Started a little bit late today. How's everybody doing? Thanks so much for being here. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I just didn't want to talk to you guys. No, actually, it's not true. I have to finish up a course that will be out not next week, but the week after. So it's a course coming up on playing blues in positions. You're learning how to play a slow G blues in one position, how to outline the chord changes. I feel like that's the best way to learn. Take one position at a time, as opposed to trying to do it all across the fingerboard. So that'll be coming out soon. Sign up for my mailing list. Go over to YouTube freebies. And then I'll get your email and let you know when it's available. So thanks for everybody for being here today. We've got BV as helping out as always. Gonna check, make sure everything's good. Okay, everything seems to be good. And hold on. Yes. Okay, my audio is working. All right. And yeah, thanks for being here as always. Last minute, of course. I always text him in the morning, like, hey, can you do today? And he always makes himself available, so I appreciate that. So I got a few fun things going on. We got 60% off of my Pentatonic Connections course. And I want to talk a little bit about today about how you can start to kind of know the fingerboard better. And that course, I think, really does help quite a bit. I think it does for sure. And anything you learn in that course, you can apply to any scale. We can talk about pentatonic scales today. Then you can apply it to major scales and minor scales or whatever. And I'll talk about that a little bit as well, or triads or anything. We have a winner for the DGT PRS giveaway. He should be getting his guitar today. As soon as, I want to make sure that he's okay with me giving his name out. So we're just waiting to hear back from I'm in contact with him. And he's very excited about winning the PRS DGT that I did in conjunction with my good friends over at Watchtower Guitars and with David Grissom. So my good friends at Watchtower Guitars have also offered, for everybody who's lost out or did not win, they're offering 20% off of any new PRS amp or guitar that's part of the regular series, not a private stock, a core line, SE, all those 20% off. And you can go over to the Watchtower using the link below, and then you could enter the code TONEBRO, TONEBRO 20. That's a big joke. So I think I'm going to make, we're making that, my friends and I came up with are you a TONEBRO? So maybe we make TONEBRO t-shirts coming up. That should be kind of fun. All right, so we're going to take a look at, it kind of talks about what I talked about 2 weeks ago, learning how to establish melodies. But one of the biggest things I find people have a problem with, for good reason, is opening up the fingerboard, because the guitar is not an easy instrument to learn how to play. It just isn't. And the reason why it's not an easy instrument to learn how to play, well, there's certain things that are easy, right? You learn a picture, okay, that's C, that's E, that's easy. You can just play that chord, that's that shape. Or if you want to transpose, if you know like an A bar chord, you want to go to B, you just move it up a whole step. So certain things like that are easy. But if you want to learn how to play a scale across the fingerboard, it becomes a lot more difficult, because the guitar doesn't really make a lot of sense at first. Tuning fourth, and you have a third there, and a fourth again. It's annoying. So piano, I'm not saying piano is an easier instrument to play, but piano is an easier instrument to understand how it functions. So the first thing I would say to do, and this is not very exciting, but trust me, it totally works, is if you learn the notes of any scale that you're thinking about up and down one string at a time. It's not sexy, but boy, does it work. So we talk about an A minor pentatonic scale, which is A, C, D, E, and G. A little buzzy there. So A, C, D, E, and G. So first thing I'm going to do is I have my open E string, right? So E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, and D. Then you can say them back in reverse. I definitely say them as you play them, and helps to have it on a piece of paper if you want to. So D, C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E. Now, ascending, it's not that hard to do sometimes because it goes somewhat alphabetically. You are skipping notes, but descending, it's like if somebody said to me, spell your name backwards, I'd have to think about it. So if I see these notes, I can say what they are pretty easily, because I know them on the fingerboard. And this is really, really important. And it's really, really useful, I think. So if I'm going to take a track, and this is a track we've checked out before, and I've talked about this subject before on the channel, way back, but it's always worth repeating, because it's like anything in guitar. You're like, yeah, I know that, and then you realize you don't know that. So these are things I still kind of go through because I forget a lot of stuff. So this is this old little lockdown jam. We've used this before. This is from the lockdown. This could play A minor pentatonic. I talked about this last week too. What do we call it? So I'm just playing A minor pentatonic, a little buzzy in the house today. So I'm playing A minor pentatonic up and down each string. And then I'm going to just try to think about how to create some music with that. Because you don't want to just be, I'm just learning notes. But as I play these, I'm going to say them to myself. So E, F, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E. So by going up and down one string, I really end up simplifying. Well, I don't try to learn the scale in all these different positions, which you want to do, but when you play in positions, you think in positions. Or if you're thinking positions, excuse me, you play in positions. So if I'm thinking about like an A minor scale, oh, that was Dorian. I have Dorian in my ear track. I'm going to keep on playing. I'm going to maybe lean towards that, because it's you just start thinking about fingerings as opposed to the notes. It's got a little buzzing here, so I'm going to change guitars. Hold on. I'll go buzz free today. All right. So hopefully I'm in tune. That was unplanned. That's what happens in Brooklyn sometimes. It was actually fine, and then suddenly it wasn't. So it's really frustrating for all us single coil guys. All right, pretty good. Good enough. All right, so then what I want to start about thinking about doing is doing it on this next string as well. You want to start doing that up and down each string. Now, you're not trying to create some sort of great musical expression or anything new. You're not inventing the wheel or anything like that. You're just trying to understand the guitar fingerboard. Another thing I talk a lot about is the separation between practicing and performing and playing music. This is practicing. So it's not really meant to be exciting, like, oh man, where's this going? It's not going anywhere. You're learning the guitar fingerboard. But on that same thought, I'm always thinking you should think as musical as possible. So as I'm playing these notes, I'm not going, like, as I say this, for yelling with my guitar, hitting really hard on the pick or anything like that. I'm going to try to play some music with it. Right, so I'm going to take the time and just start to listen to those notes, add some vibrato, slide into them, just make it musical. And every time I think about, when I think musically about creating, every time I pick up the guitar, I'm trying to play something with intention. I want to play some music. I didn't used to do that when I was younger. And I hear a lot of students, they'll come and they're playing a pentatonic scale and it's like, plucking hard and yelling with the guitar, and there's no need to do that. You can start thinking about, very simply, letting a note ring, concentrate on how it sounds, adding in some vibrato, anything like that's really going to help a lot. Okay, so we would want to do this on every string. So on a G string, so the best way to do this a really good way to do this, I should say, is to write out the guitar fingerboard maybe, and then write out the A minor pentatonic scale, which there's plenty of those available, and it's all in that course that I have available for the 60% off as well. And then you can just take one string at a time, so you see how this works. So you start to see how the scale exists. So A minor pentatonic is A, C, D, E, and G, and it keeps on repeating over and over again, right? So E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D. So for me, after doing this for really a long time, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, I start to see the fingerboard light up in the sense of I'm not thinking about the pentatonic box positions. And there's nothing wrong with those. I mean, you're talking about, if you want to talk about like blues licks, you know, those are existing in those patterns. But if I want to start to move around the fingerboard with some freedom, I have to break out of those. And so at this point, when I think about A minor pentatonic, and hopefully many other scales, they just kind of light up on the fingerboard. I don't think about it anymore. I just play them. Now, do I make mistakes? All the time. Yeah. But it's because I made a mistake. It's not because I didn't know what note I was trying to play. And this is the way to do it. So when you start to see everything as one string at a time, that was the real turning point for me, whether it was a triad arpeggio or a seventh arpeggio or major scale, minor scale, whatever thing I'm working on. If I try to work on it in one string at a time, that started to allow me the freedom to move around the fingerboard and to envision the guitar. Now, it's almost like three pianos, because that's kind of what it is in a way, right? Because we have the piano, you have your octave, and then it repeats exactly the same thing again, an octave above. String instruments are not really like that. So when we start to change strings, it's like the interval changes. We really need to know what we're doing to fully improvise, or to know the instrument, because it's a different thing over here. Whereas in the piano, like I'm saying, you're repeating the same exact fingering. So, all right, you guys get the idea. So what do we do next? So I'm going to just go through all my strings, right? And you can start to, like I said, have musical fun. A little Hendrixy thing, right? Kind of sliding up and down. That's just a pentatonic scale up and down one string. So the next thing that you would maybe want to think about is, well, how about two strings at a time? Or three strings? Or how can I start to connect some of these ideas? So there's classic Eric Johnson licks, and then, you know, Joe Bonamassa doing them. If you take like your A minor pentatonic scale, you do 4-note groupings of it. So I'm going to take this little pattern right here. I had C, D, E, and G, right? Well, I can move that up, right? So I'm going to move up those same 4 notes. Then move it up again. And again. And again. So you're getting 4 of the 5 notes, right? So here, if I run that track, might lead you to start thinking, well, that if I play that fast, it's going to be a bit of that Eric Johnson moving across the fingerboard thing. Yes. But you don't have to play it fast. So I'm just going to improvise, just slowly basing my performance off of the top 2 strings, these 4-note little groupings. And when you do that, you're not thinking blues licks. All right, so let's see what we got. So that to me is a really powerful tool to start to use when you're going across the neck. You can't play, you can, but you're not thinking that way. You're thinking about these 4-note groupings moving across the fingerboard. And when you start to think about that, you play differently. Now, what else am I going to do to run with this? And we'll get to questions, and hopefully you got some questions about this. So let's just say I've got these 4 notes, right? So one thing I can do is think about every combo of those 4 notes. Right? So I can play them as single notes, or unison, or any combination of that. So let's hear how that's going to sound. Same idea here. So there I took this pattern or this shape, this idea, the lower note on the low string, second string, and the higher note on the high string. So I can see this at this point at first as being, I'm staying in the scale and moving this interval around. The interval is going to change, and it is important to know that I'm playing a fifth here, and I have a D, and I have an A there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So it's important that I see that and know that, but that's not the most important thing right away. I don't think when I'm playing fifths, fourths, thirds, I'm not thinking that. I'm just thinking those notes and sometimes those sounds. I just know what that's going to sound like. There's a minor sixth, fifth, fifth, fifth. And it's got that really kind of interesting sound as opposed to fourth, which has got a very different sound. So I can take, kind of relating to what I talked about 2 weeks ago about establishing melodies and learning melodies and repeating ideas or melodic phrases or rhythmic ideas. I can repeat that same idea of this as sort of the germ of what I'm trying to play, or the melodic statements. Let's hear that. 1, 2, and... So that becomes part of my new vocabulary, ways I can start to take that idea and move around. And I would say do that in every 2 adjacent string sets. So if we did it between the G and the B string, sorry, that was wrong. Oops. What did I do? Yeah, okay. So it's got to be a bigger fingering difference just because of the tuning difference between the G and the B. Can mess up for you too. So really useful. Then these 2 strings. I like the sound of that, the different register. That was wrong, sorry. And some really cool sounds. Now I made a mistake before. I played a B in there. Still sounded pretty good, so you can stumble across something that sounds good. But for me, I had never played like That's a cool sound, right? Hear that? Something like that. So what did I start to do there at the end? I connected 3 strings. So look. So I've got 6 notes. Now, that's a cool group of 6s, etc. But how about some of those chord ideas? I went like this. I could add in another note from the pentatonic scale to create a chord. If you hit a wrong note, you can definitely hear it, but it still sounds good. Right? So this has been really helpful to me, whether it's an A minor triad, A, C, E, A, C. A minor 7, A, C, E, G. So as I start to do that and start to connect them, the freedom you get to move around and how it breaks you out of the boxes of the pentatonic scale is really, really big. I can do this with major 7th arpeggios, dominant 7th arpeggios, anything, any scale that I want, whether it's, A Dorian, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. Chords from A Dorian, right? So you come up with these really cool sounds. I can do it with the notes of A Dorian. So I would say something like the 7th. One of my favorite sounds. Love that sound. Right? Add some really nice tension. So I know where those notes are because I practice the A Dorian scale up and down one string. So the next thing I would do, I would do pentatonic first. That works really great. And then maybe just go to A minor, which is C major, right? Which is D Dorian. Or G major, whatever, like this track. You can get this track, by the way, on the UT free. If you go down a link below, there's a link on the background tracks. It's not the blues one, it's the other bunch of live tracks you can get for free. So taking this one thing at a time, one scale at a time. If you learn an A minor pentatonic, it's not that difficult to start to add the other notes to make it A Aeolian, or D Dorian. So what I mean by that is if you learn your natural notes on the fingerboard, what starts to happen, okay, so C major is C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. G major is G, A, B, C, D, F sharp, G. When I'm playing now, I know my natural notes on the fingerboard. I know where A, B, C, D, E, F, G is, or C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So when I'm thinking about going to G major, the way my mind worked for a very long period of time was I'm thinking in the natural notes, but now my F is an F sharp. I didn't start thinking about a completely different scale, even though it is. I just thought about, well, if I just change the F to an F sharp, I'm playing G major and all their related modes. So this thing starts to happen if you learn your natural notes one string at a time. And think about that when you go to a different key, what notes are different? Oh, if I want to go to the key of F, it's just a B flat. So instead of relearning everything or learn different fingerings or play fingering patterns, which of course are important, I just started thinking about, oh, okay, it's all the same notes, but now I have a B flat as opposed to B. Hopefully that makes sense, right? So I'm just playing, by doing one string at a time, I started to see how the guitar functions. Take it simple with something like a pentatonic scale. Like I said, that course will help you through it. And when you start seeing it with a pentatonic scale, 5 notes are less than 7. And the pentatonic scale is so familiar, we use it all the time. There's very few wrong notes in a pentatonic scale if you're jamming on something, as you've discovered. You start going into more of the modes by adding 2 other notes. You're going to come across some really, really great notes, but some may not sit as well because you're playing a sixth on a minor chord root, playing an F natural on an A. So the pentatonic scale does not contain some of those problematic notes. So by learning the pentatonic scale first, you get the concept together and the idea of oh, okay, I'm going to start playing 1 string at a time, 2 strings at a time. I'm going to start seeing things at 3 strings at a time. And it's the combination of those and then thinking the box positions of your pentatonic scales that are really helpful too, because there's certain licks when you play a blues lick, it just exists in that position. That's the easiest place to play it as a guitar-based lick. When you start seeing the fingerboard this way, you start seeing the guitar less as a positional instrument and more as an instrument, if you know what I'm saying. It's the possibilities open up. So am I equally as adept in A Dorian or in B flat Lydian flat 7 as I am in A Dorian? No. Or A flat Lydian flat 7. It's okay, hold on. No, because I have to work on it. But what I still do, as opposed to thinking of a fingering for A flat Lydian flat 7, which I will sometimes do if it's something like that, or let's just say something simpler like A Lydian flat 7. People are what's that? It's a Lydian scale with a flat 7. But all I just do is okay, what's the difference note between this and A? What is the note that I have to change in my chord progression or in my fingers to match the chord that I want to play over? And very often the notes surrounding it are really the same. It's just the one note that is different. And if I know where that one note is on the fingerboard, stuff gets way easier. If I'm going from an A chord, A7 to E7. Well, the difference between A7, A, C sharp, E, and G, and E7 is E, G sharp, B, and D. If I look at the 2 scales that connect those two, A mixed Lydian and E mixed Lydian, there's only one note different, G and G sharp. So if I know that that's the one note different between those 2 scales, I know where a G and a G sharp is because I spent some time on 1 string at a time finding those notes. Now my scale and making chord changes is not this so overwhelming as it used to be. It's I'm just going to change that one note. Oh, wow, that's it? So I don't have to jump from position to position to change a chord because I only know a mixed Lydian scale here and here, or one finger of a mixed Lydian scale. I'll see that, there's the only difference between these 2 scales is one note. So if I know where that one note is, by practicing the fingerboard up and down 1 string at a time, that's the big change. Huge, huge change in my playing. That was massive in my viewing of the guitar, my understanding of the instrument. Realized I didn't know anything about the guitar really until I started thinking about that stuff. It's a lot of work, but trust me, it starts to snowball. You do it a little bit, get the C major scale, A minor pentatonic together, and then it just starts to snowball a bit as long as you stay with it. Somebody sent me this really funny thing. It was on Instagram about this comedian who said, guitar player, it's been floating around. I sold my soul to the devil to play guitar. Went down to the crossroads, and so I signed the contract in blood. And then he goes, okay, well, come over to my house on Tuesday at 5 p.m. and we'll start you in on some simple chords, and then we'll start getting to some theory, and then I'll show you. Eventually we get to bar chords and all that. And he goes to the devil. He's like, well, wait a minute. You said I sold my soul to learn how to play guitar. And he's like, yeah, but you got to practice. I thought that was a very funny joke. So same thing. So none of this is going to come together unless you spend some time working on it. All right, let's see if we got any questions. And thanks for everybody being here as always. Let's go through some stuff. Yes, piano is linear. That's the word I was trying to look for. And not very clear way. Am I enjoying this? Yeah, it's beautiful in New York today. All right, David Cromley sold the course to me already. Thank you. Matt Gibson's looking forward to the pentatonic, the playing the blues in one position course. Thanks. I'm looking forward to that coming out too. I think it's going to be fun. What's up, Guitar Grandpa? How you doing, man? Happy Halloween, everyone. That's all right. All right, getting to the questions. Okay. Any tips on, this is from Gaspar Surf. All right. Any tips on how to improve your accuracy? Sometimes I miss notes halfway through a solo. Just wondering if there are any exercises that can help with that. Yeah. Practice. I don't mean that in a sarcastic way at all. There's a few things. Are you talking about, if you're talking about live, if you're performing, all right, this is a multifaceted question. First thing is, it seems fairly obvious. You have to practice the things that you are going to play. So if you're working on, say, playing major scales and to get your technique together or something like that, and you're playing in a blues band, and then you're missing solos while you're playing blues solos, or you're missing notes on this blues solos. Why is that? Because you're not practicing that, because that's a different technique, right? It's only, technique is a big thing. It could mean alternate picking, but that doesn't help you with your bends or economy picking or blues licks. So that's a weird reality of just because you practice one thing doesn't mean you're good at another thing. And a while ago, I did a video on like things I wish I had not practiced. And some of those things were like learning how to play a major scale really, really fast. Because all that really kind of did was made me good at playing a major scale really, really fast, which is cool. It has its benefits. But I remember Carl Verheyen talking about how he never really practiced that. He would create lines and then write them out and then learn how to play these things. Obviously, once you've learned your scales. But instead of spending all this time trying to perfect the technique of playing quickly, write some musical ideas that you want to use in your soloing and start practicing those. So the more you do those, the more they become kind of the thing you do. So there's a lot of, I don't want to say it's not hubris, but there's that thing of like, well, I can do this, so therefore I can do that on guitar. And it's just not the case. So that's one thing I found about messing up or missing notes is you're just not practicing the thing that you're trying to play. That seems really simple and obvious, but I overlook that still all the time. Like I was on tour, like a month ago, and first few gigs I was like, oof, man, just kind of having a rough time playing some of this stuff. I'm like, yeah, you moron, you weren't working on that. So how do you expect to have some of your diminished or altered legato ideas together because you didn't work on them? Moron? So I'm calling myself a moron. That's why. There's one tune that we do in the set. It's on my first record. And I forget how hard it is to play live. And I'm like, why am I struggling with this? Because you didn't practice it before you went on the road. You didn't practice playing that song over and over again standing up. That's why you're having a hard time pulling this tune together. It's called I'm Tired. It's my first record. I was like, oh man, I forgot how hard this song is to play live. Dummy. So the other thing is, play slowly. Work on the idea slowly because, if you can't play it fast, can't play it slow, you can't play it fast to a certain extent. There's a lot of legato and things, but work on the ideas that you want to do. Practice playing over the songs that you are going to be playing on live. That seems also very obvious, but it's not, because sometimes you're like, oh man, I should have run over that. And same thing with that same tune. I got the solo section of that. It was like, right? So there's some I spent a fair amount of time writing that chord progression so I could think of some really cool stuff to do on it. Get on the gig. I hadn't played that song in a while live, and I was not making mistakes, but I was not taking full advantage of the chord progression because I was like, oh man, I didn't run over this enough until about the fourth gig, and in the hotel room, like, okay, let me think about what's going on. I got to run over these ideas. So I reverted back to playing some more simpler things. And as I got a little back more comfortable on stage, which is my next point, I started to feel like, okay, I'm a little more relaxed. The band sounds great. I've got these chord progressions. I got these changes under my fingers, and now I can start to outline those sounds and take advantage of the ideas that I wanted to in writing that chord progression. It's never a short answer. And then the last one, my friend, is playing live. Are you talking about playing live? Whole different beast. Unless you're gigging out all the time, it takes a while to get comfortable playing standing up in front of people. There's a lot of adrenaline that's going on. There's nerves. There's all these things like that. So you have to overcome all those things as well. So the live situation brings in a whole other element that cannot, unfortunately, be practiced unless you play live a lot. So the more you play and gig live, the more comfortable you're going to be, and probably the less you're going to miss stuff. Final thought is I did a video on this, and I have my course on this, on the blues rock repeated licks. One of the main things, if you look at a video a few weeks ago I did on picking problem solved or something like that, sometimes you're just doing it wrong. Sometimes the mistakes that you're making is because you're not picking it properly. Like you haven't spent the time to go, oh, I got a really bad fingering for this, or this picking is weird, this isn't working. So slowing down and isolating a particular lick or idea and really microscoping what's going on physically can also be the thing that turns it over. You know what I mean? That really gets it to sit into what you want it to be. Okay, there was a long answer. Hopefully that helped. All right. Did you mention that the backing track is available free or part of the course? This backing track is free. It's in the Brooklyn broadcast link, free stuff down below. It should be the links down there below. Maybe BB can throw that in there if you got that. My knees hurt. I mean, am I the only person who doesn't really know the pentatonic? I know the major scale and that one pentatonic box, blues scale in one place. No, not at all. Man, like, first of all, I've talked about this. I do workshops all the time. I do one in England coming up. Looking forward to that. And that pedal show, that's all set. I'm going to be doing that. I'm looking forward to that, meeting those guys again, but looking forward to doing the show. Man, nobody knows the pentatonic scale. Not nobody, but a lot of times the workshop, people know one position and they know licks and ideas, but they don't know the scale. They might know fingering number 1, and 2, maybe 4. You ask them to play this one. One of my favorite ones to work out of. A lot of people don't really know it. So you could argue that, as that old joke with some of my students, I'm like, well, play a song, and they're like, yeah, play me this song. It'll go something like this, and I'm like, okay, then you don't know it. And they're like, I guess not, right? I'm like, right, yeah, either you know it or you don't know it. So it's the same thing with the pentatonic scales. And I think, man, this is a great way to start doing it. First of all, you want to memorize the 5 fingerings. Do that first. Or do that one day and alternate. I'm going to do the 5 fingerings today, and tomorrow I'm going to start doing it up and down one string at a time. But you're not alone. Trust me. Okay, presumably to facilitate doing this in different keys, you should look at the intervals, but not rely too much on the dots. Yes, absolutely. But in a lot of ways, whatever gets you there first. You know what I mean? Whatever gets you playing and excited about it. But I'm a big believer, as you guys know, about going back and making sure that you know what you're doing. Putting names to things. It's like that pet peeve of mine when like, hey man, Hendrix didn't know what he was doing. He would just play and he saw colors. I'm like, no, he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing. Like, you can't play like that and not know what you're doing. And he was inventing these things. Well, everything's got a name to it. I'm not diminishing Hendrix's ability and creativity and genius, of course. But everything's got a name. Everything's kind of been done before in terms of a theoretical view of the guitar and the instrument. So when I learned that too, like, oh, it's just a pentatonic scale, but played really, really well or really creatively, that's a nice feeling. So, like, that's just pentatonic. I can't say I can play it. I'm not creating something as cool as that with it, but it's a pentatonic scale. All right, so that pressure's been relieved. So, yeah, but what I mean by, back to my point on that, which I get a little off tangent when I talk about this stuff, I'm very passionate about it, is whatever gets you started playing and into it, that's the most important thing first. And then after that, start putting names to it. But if you're playing and you're having fun, just go with that. But yeah, definitely knowing the intervals and the names and notes is something you want to know to do. Thanks, BB, for putting out the Dorian mode. I appreciate that. He gave a... when playing these 4 small note groups up and down the fingerboard, how do you know what notes to target for bending? Well, okay. That particular track is basically just an A minor chord. Oops. An A minor. Kind of like an A minor with an A with a D in the bass. So it's Dorian. So I'm going to target the notes of the chord. If I'm going to be an A minor, I'm going to target A, C, and E. You can use your ears, That D is not a great choice. It's probably the only not great choice in the pentatonic scale with that chord progression. But what I'll just do is, on the idea of what you're talking about bends, the cool thing about seeing the scale in one position is I can start to see what notes bend to what notes on where. So for instance, there's my G to my A. Well now, A to C, I love that bend. That's a minor third bend. Then C to D, D to E, and then E to G. So you get those 2 cool 1.5 step minor third bends, right? And those are great sounds that Jimmy Page would do them all the time. David Gilmour does them all the time as well. But that's the end of Dazed and Confused right there, right? Something like that. So there I'm starting to see those notes. And a lot of times I use my ear, but I'm playing on an A minor 7 chord. I'm going to target A, C, E, and G. Michael Cope, practice. Yep, it can be hell. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's about practicing. We talking about practicing. Absolutely. What's up, Kevin? Olaf, I'm currently going through hell to learn the fretboard and find the connection between chords, arpeggios, and the pentatonic. Learning to think out of the pentatonic boxes. Yeah. You want to think about one thing at a time. Trying to put it all together at once, man, it can be a little overwhelming. And it just, when it gets overwhelming, and it gets frustrating, and then it gets frustrating because it's so overwhelming. Because it is at first. So just do one thing at a time. Just learn A minor or C major scale up and down the fingerboard at one time. That's it. Just work on that. And then the next day, maybe learn the chords of C major or A minor, C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G dominant 7, A minor 7, B minor 7, flat 5. Just learn those. With no other goal, others like, okay, these are the chords, I'm going to practice them. And then I think we have to separate, like I said, making music from it. You're always trying to make music when you're practicing, make it musical, but you also want to make sure that you're not beating yourself up because you're not playing this amazing thing. All right. Thanks for your courses and show me the way to help to practice. Hey man, you're welcome, and thank you for picking up the courses. I appreciate it. That's a nice progression. Backing track, yes, BV put the backing track right there, so thanks so much. Okay. There you go. It'll be the biggest death pedal show since Noel Gallagher. I believe so. I want to believe. If I believe it, it will be true. Do you ever use a guitar cushion while sitting to play? No, I just have this regular kind of desk chair, a halfway decent one that I got from IKEA or something. Thought about getting a fancier chair, but I can't put anything with arms on it. It's pretty good. I just try to remember to stand up a lot when I'm sitting down all day, you know. Like I got to stand up, you know, and do some stuff. All right. Damn, this PRS is to die for. It's pretty nice, isn't it? I got it over at my friends at Watchtower Guitars, as BB put on news there, and they have 20% off any new PRS amp and guitar that is not private stock or something like that. All the Core series, all the SC, all those things. 20% off, which is pretty good, man, I would say. All right. All right, so any more questions while we're talking about this? All right, so just as I just kind of riff on this idea, the sky's the limit with it, right? I mean, you can take any combo of notes. This is something kind of fun. All right, so I'm going to play an A Dorian, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. I'm going to play that. So I'm going to play, I'm going to use my open A as my drone. So I'm going to move up through the key of A Dorian, and each note is going to go through the A Dorian scale, right? So I'm going to play this pattern right here. So I'm going to have E, B, and C. So now I'm going to move this E up to the F sharp. This C moves up, sorry, this B moves up to C, and this C moves up to D. Right? And keep moving that through. So G, D, E, and everything's going to move up. Keep going. Oh, I heard that wrong. No, that was wrong. No, it was right. Sorry, I had that wrong. No, what am I doing today? Sorry, messed that up. It's live. I hadn't intended upon doing this. Let's do that again. I was right here. All right, let's get that shape again. There we go. I know what I'm talking about. There we go. This is where I'm at. You moron. Let's hear how that sounds. Now, especially if I didn't have that piano thing right there, I could get all these cool voicing. By going through, just found a fingering that I like the sound of and move the chords, create these chords, I'm taking these chords through the scale, and you get some really nice, cool sounds that you might not have come up with before, you know? That's an A Dorian scale, A, B, C, F sharp. I'm gonna move that up. There we go. So you get all these really great sounds that guys like Alan Haldsworth would do. I've heard Pat Metheny. This is a common sort of jazzier thing to do, especially you got this modal vamp, and then you're just going to start playing some cool chords over the top of it that you can derive from the scale. That was like something I remember when I was in college, hearing like Scott Henderson, who's one of my favorite guitar players of all time, playing these really cool chords, and I just kind of figured out like, oh wow, he's just going he's got this shape and he's moving it around through the key a little bit, and that sounds amazing. And that's just, you pick a shape and you move it through the key that you want to play in, which I did not so well first time around. Okay. Let's see if we get more questions. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, hold on. My ADD brain need the connection to play music, for sure. Any update on the JM Signature Tuttle? Yeah, for sure. It should be available pretty soon for pre-order or order. It's at Michael right now. Michael Tuttle, I sent it back to him. We're putting a bigger neck on it. And then we're pretty much done. It's going to have we're going to give 2 options on the guitar of neck size. I like a bigger neck, so it's going to be 860, which is 860 of an inch, which is the same as that black Strat of his that I was playing earlier that was a bit buzzy with the single coils. This is sort of around that too, so I like a bit of a bigger neck. And we're going to, some people don't like a bigger neck, so we're going to offer 2 options on the neck size, an 830 or 840 and an 860, just so you have a choice, because sometimes people don't like a bigger neck. I find for me a bigger neck just feels better, and we discussed this a few weeks ago, like hand issues, like I've got some that are usually pretty under control unless I play a guitar with a thin neck. Not that 830 was thin or 840 was thin, but I can't play like a Charvel anymore or anything. It just hurts my wrist like in no time at all, you know. So, so it's good. That's in pretty soon. Hopefully my friends at Watchtower will be carrying them, and also you can get them. We'll be over at my other friend's store, Sound Pure Guitars with Eddie Berman, or you can contact Michael directly for one. Yeah, just say it's going to be bigger, but it's not huge. Exactly, it's not huge. Like, okay, thank you, BB, for pointing that. It's not a huge neck at all. A friend of mine who was here the other day before that one went out, and he tried both of them back together, back and forth. The new neck, the neck that's on this, and he's like, oh yeah, right. This has just got that little bit more meat to it that feels better for me. So the 860, 840, minor, seems minor, but it makes a big difference for my hands. But I can't play like, you know, those guys have like this custom shop Strat that I'm probably going to be selling. Hold on. I'm going to sell this shortly. It's a great guitar, but the neck is like 900 to like 980 of an inch at the first fret. So 860, it's going to be 860 at the first fret. This is like 900. So this feels really cool for a while. It's an awesome guitar, but when I stand up and play it, it's too big for my hands. I just feel like, oh, I can't get around. Sitting down, it's fine, but standing up, can't do it. So I will be selling this beautiful Wildwood 1053 or 54, no, 55 Strat that's under 7 pounds. Sounds amazing, but just for me, it's just a wee bit big, and I got the Tuttle. So if you're interested, contact me through jeffmackerling.com. Okay. Oh, it's a good question. Okay, hold on. Oh, will there be an SC version of the Tuttle Signature for those who aren't so good at hiding big purchases? Sadly, no. It will not be an inexpensive guitar, but it is all handmade. So I'm not sure what the price range will be, but it's going to be about about $5,000. But you compare that to a Fender Masterbuilt, which I would say it is better than. Those are about $10,000. So, but you know, like I said, it's one guy. The thing is, Michael makes everything soup to nuts, you know, and he doesn't make his own bridges, but they're custom bridges for him. But hand sands everything, frets everything himself, paints everything himself, cuts it all, finishes everything. CNC cuts it, finishes it all by hand. So, and today, Brett Papa in the house. All right, just got your free arpeggio course, and it's better, and this better be good, or nasty comments are going to come flying your way. Yes, Brett, it's really, really good. Yeah, guys, the free arpeggio course. Check it out. Mini course and ebook. So what I was saying is, somebody's asking, do I still like the UA Lion? Yeah, I do. I brought it on the road with me as a backup, but this is kind of fun for today. I thought maybe, depending on how much we had going on. This is what I'm playing through right now. Got the enigmatic, which is the Dumble, and the Delverb. I think it sounds great. The blinky thing right here is just my fractal that's not actually plugged in at the moment. But I really like the enigmatic a lot. Yeah. And I think the Lion is awesome as well. And you guys might have seen, we got, I'm just loading up the app so we could change sounds for this. Hold on. It's got the UA app with the presets, which it's really important that you use the app with the pedal, but I think the Dumble one's great. It's still loading. I got to say, sometimes the app can be a little janky at times. So I just have the preset of the sound I have right there. So I'll just put this right here. Probably gets all sorts of messages. So here's the factory presets. Yeah, of course you can't see because of it's light and stuff. All right, well, you get the idea. So it's trying to sort this out. But all right, so I can change the presets with the app. So let's try one. Right, let's try to get a clean one. I like that one. Okay, so volume's a bit high, but man, sounds pretty good. My sister's calling me on my phone. So the app is really useful. Here's another one. Because I got the levels all different here, but. All right, anyway, I don't know if it's distorting on you guys in there, but I think the enigmatic is really great. Really, really good stuff. This is going direct into my interface. Yeah. And I've got, okay, guys, I'm friends with the company. So I used to work for Line 6 many, many years ago. I was their New York guy. And a lot of the guys who used to work at Line 6 years and years ago, who I became great friends with, now work at UA. So they sent me the Anti, which is their 5150, basically. Pretty cool. Not my thing. It's a bit tricky, for me to dial that in. I haven't spent too much time with it. And the Lion, which you guys heard, I think Lion's great. And I brought it on the road with me with a Seymour Duncan power stage, just in case my amp blew up. And I checked that out at soundcheck, and it sounded really, really good. And it sounded cool with pedals in front of it. So for the Marshall thing, this and the enigmatic is the Dumble. The clean sounds on the enigmatic are really, really impressive. I think that's the best. I mean, everything's cool about it, but that's really nice. I mean, but this to me, the Delverb, seriously, guys, like, that's just a kind of just buy the stupid thing already. Doesn't have a ton of presets. In fact, it doesn't have any. I mean, you could do the same thing to presets on the phone with the app, but you can store one. The way I have it right now is actually reverb. Go back to my other preset. And if I turn this on, it's delay. And my tap tempo. Right, so then I can change like kind of deluxe memory man. It's a tape delay. But in terms of a great pedal all-in-one, Really love the Delver. And look, if you guys want to get one, I got a Sweetwater affiliate link for any of this stuff. If you can't find one, a link for the Enigmatic, if you just check out this link and then you go use the Enigmatic, it's got a cookie in it. So if you decide to buy one, I get a little bit of a kickback. But you guys know me well enough to know that I don't really talk about stuff I don't like. And I like these a lot. I really like the Delver, especially for like a small pedal board. I'm thinking if you're traveling, I've got my big board, which, I'm kind of lazy and I always want to rip it apart, but this has got UA reverb and UA delay, so it's really, really cool. I really like this one a lot. And it's simple. A lot of my friends are using it now too. And like I said, the Enigmatic, I've been really enjoying it, as is BV. It's really good. You got to get used to it, in terms of, like, right now, it's the way I'm running it when I'm going direct, like the output that it defaults to is much higher than I have the UA. I didn't plan it all out to demo the pedal. I got to say, if you want the best demo I have seen of this pedal, it's by my good friend Corey Congilio, and he did it on his live stream. As a guy who, like myself, owns Two Rocks and is very familiar with the Dumble circuit, he does a great demo of it and explains how it works and how the app works. So it was a live thing. I would definitely go check out his if you really want to see what this does, more so than anyone else's. And I have to say, the best demo of the Lion I've seen, it might have been when James Santiago, who designed it, was talking about himself over it when they were doing a Sweetwater video together, because he goes through the whole thing. He's such a great player and he knows so much. So, yeah, they're not inexpensive for sure. That's definitely for sure. And they have now as plugins too, not the Enigmatic, but the Lion. And like I said, the Lion just sounds great. I can do a video on comparing them if you want at some point. So this thing, I can put that on too. I haven't really dialed in. Like I said, it's not quite where my ears are. Sometimes I play it, I'm like, oh, it sounds cool. And other times I'm like, oh, that's really much heavier than I normally like. I recently discovered the Katana Power Amp input. Okay, yeah, one thing I do want to point out is that you can go direct with them, right, as I'm doing right now, but it's going to sound horrible. But if I turn off the cab, right? But if you're going into a speaker cabinet with a power amp, it takes care of that. So here's the cab. So that's a speaker emulation. But then I could turn it off, and if you're running into a power section, so that's what I did on the road with this. I plugged it in, like I said, into a Marshall, it's a Palmer cab with a G12, the 65 Creamback with the Timor Duncan power stage. It sounded really good. Did it sound as good as the Surplexi? No. It's freaking Surplexi. It's the real deal. But we start getting into the world of A-Bing things. We've talked about this, right? Like, I'm playing my new Tuttle, which is spectacular. It's great. Then I play my 64, and I'm like, oh, there's differences. Like, yeah, there's differences. One's a 1964 Stratocaster. The other one's a brand new guitar. It's when you A-B something. Like, I didn't think about my 64 Strat once while I was on the road. Completely happy playing the new guitar. Totally infinitely playable. Didn't worry about it. Sounds amazing. And then when you come home, you start microscoping these things. You know what I mean? So, the keyboard player, Walter, when I played this and I played it next to the real amp, he's like, sounds the same. I'm like, no, it doesn't. So to him, it sounded the same, which is really saying a lot. And the video I did, the Cream Licks, I think I talked about it last time, but I didn't talk about it in the video, and I should have. I was running my super lead into the aux, and I thought it sounded great. And I said, let me try this. And I was going back and forth between the two of them. I started wanting to maybe do a video on this and trying to get it to sound like my super lead. It was just too involved. And I'm like, they both sound great, but they sound different. And I'm not good at that stuff. You know what I mean? I'll leave that to someone like Pete Thorne, who's really great at gear demos, and I'm just not. So I was just playing, I was having a great time, and I realized I was playing through this. Then I was like, oh wow. So it wasn't the super lead through the aux, which is a way more expensive thing. I was playing through this. So I was like, all right, I'm sold. And so the same thing with the Enigmatic. I started playing through that. And you're playing through the 2-Rock. It's going to sound different because there's different IRs or, it gets so involved. So it is what it is. You start playing with it and it sounds great. You know what I mean? All right. The UA plugins are very good. Michael Cope agrees. I've not tried one of the plugins. I got to try to twist their arm to send me those. Jeff, what do you think about the Dream 65? I think it breaks up early, but it's still good. I've never played the Dream 65. They didn't send me one. I had heard that it broke up quickly too, but I know a lot of guys are using it. A few of my friends are using it, especially for like the praise and worship thing. They like that as a clean platform. That or the Ruby, which is the Vox thing. But this, I got some great clean sounds. But in terms of the clean sounds, the cleans on this are really, really impressive on the Enigmatic. Really good. And that's one of my biggest problems that I found with a lot of plugins or virtual amps. Sometimes the cleans didn't feel lively enough. They would sound good, but the Fractal does a great job. But this was the first time I plugged in. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah, that clean sound just sounds awesome. Just going to go with that. Mike Doctor, missed the part of the show. Is new signature available? Title completed. Not yet. Really, really, really soon. Like you guys will all know, we're just getting a different neck put on it and gonna kind of unveil it at the pedal show. We'll look at it that way. I'm totally psyched. I love the guitar. It looks great and it sounds great. So I'm super psyched. All right. So, all right. Any other questions before we go? And I'm keeping BB late. He's on a different time zone than me. Lots of people here. Hey guys, if you like the channel, please like and subscribe. Helps me out. Tell your friends. Trying to grow the channel. It's an interesting world growing YouTube channels. Since I don't do gear demos and I don't really try to do clickbaity things or like, this is what's wrong with PRS. They're too good for the money. Like, those kind of things. I can't bring myself to do that stuff. So I try to keep it, motivational and instructional and talking about gear things that I really like. But in the context, I think that hopefully will be useful. So if you could like and subscribe, would help out a lot, in terms of just even, when people look at your channel, a lot of it's the optics. But that being said, you guys, thank you so much for everybody who comes here and people buy the courses and I try to make them really affordable. And I really appreciate it. It's been spectacular. It's changed my life. It's also allowed me to go do a tour and not have the panicked feeling of how am I going to make any money. It's because, I'm working on selling courses and the subscription model that I have over at Jam Guitar Lessons, all these things. So I want to say thanks to everyone who's been really supportive of what I do. It's been awesome. Thank you. Great stream today. Have a happy Halloween, everyone. Yeah, everybody have a great Halloween. Brett, what are you talking about? All excuses. LOL. I got no excuses. I'm just trying to think about how I can get the new Jakey Lee Friedman amp that Brett and I have been talking about. Because I'm as subject to gas as everyone possibly could be. All right. You're the only you're the only YouTuber I've ever bought a course also beyond TrueFire, of course. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, a lot of people have come over from the TrueFire days over to the Jam Guitar Lessons, and I appreciate that too. Very proud of my TrueFire stuff, but moving forward, everything's going to be over Jam Guitar Lessons, I think, for all sorts of reasons. One, mainly, it's my own business. Very different than working for somebody else. Can you explain the subscription model? I have a subscription model over in Jam Guitar Lessons. You get everything, and you get the monthly masterclass. So you get that all included. And then I do a monthly Zoom hang as well. So let me see if I can get that link while I'm at it. I wasn't expecting to talk about that. Hold on. Sorry, guys. We got it right over here. Hold on. Yeah. I'm really on top of everything. Hold on. I know how to do this. I know how to do this. Ridiculous that I don't know how to do this. Hold on. I should have this. I didn't line up. I didn't have it lined up. Hold on. There we go. It's called the inner circle. And here is the link. Over here, guys. It's a bunch. I think a few of the guys who are in the inner circle are here too. Like I said, so we do a monthly Zoom hang for like 2 hours. I teach a little lesson there, answer everybody's questions. You get the masterclass included, so you don't have to worry about it selling out and not getting in the masterclass. You can watch everything, of course, on the replay. You get all the courses. And yeah, so that's that. All right, everyone. So once again, I really appreciate you being here. 60% off pentatonic connections, which is kind of the whole point of what we were talking about today. Once again, go over to my good friends over at Watchtower. The DGT giveaway has been won by a guy in New Hampshire. He's got to make sure at some point he's going to send a picture. Hopefully he's very excited. I had to send it. He's like, seriously? Did I actually win this? I'm like, yes, you actually won this. So it's pretty fun. So we'll announce the winner, his name, but someone has won it. And my good friends over at Watchtower Guitars are offering 20% off of any, my friend who I work with on my channel, Steve, just sent me the link for the inner circle. He's watching me shuffle on the air. So 20% off any PRS amp or new amp or guitar from their core series, not a private stock. Oh, one last thing. I know it's expensive. There is, if they get over at Watchtower, they have a blowout on the PRS Jimi Hendrix 100 hand-wired amp. And they're selling it for like $2,000. That's a lot of money, but not for that amp. That amp sounds amazing. If I didn't have a 100-watt Marshall, like that amp, just to let you know, it's a lot of money. I know that's not on sale, but that's not part of the 20% off. But I think they've got it for like $2,000. I know that's a lot of money, but for that amp, if you want like an amazing sounding Marshall, better than what Marshall's building now, I got to say that amp is great. So you can go over and check that out over there. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. As always, I will see you next week, and hopefully have another YouTube video this weekend. I'm going to put out the new course after the election, because it's going to be a crazy week no matter where you are and where you stand on everything. And the code for the Watchtower deal, yes, it is ToneBro. There you go, ToneBro 20. And look out for the Jeff McElwain Are You a ToneBro shirt? T-shirt coming up. Archie Cervantes. Hi, just discovered your channel and subscribed. I love your guitar. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for being here. And I did get this at Watchtower Guitars. Did you talk about the Firebird? I did not talk about the Firebird. I can talk about that later. Oh, what they do have, it's massively expensive because I helped them put it together over at Watchtower. I don't have a picture of it, but they have a private stock DGT. It's got the little birds on the side and it's mahogany. Like it's amazing. It is $14,000, but that's an amazing guitar. Anyway, someone who wants to go nuts, that's an amazing guitar. All right, everybody. Thanks, BB. Thanks, everybody else. I will see you next week, and I'll see you in a weekend on a video.